along to hang out and talk sports with Bobbie and the boys. Welcome to KVSC Sidelines on UTVS. I'm your host, Bobbie Bullock. Alongside, of course, again today is AJ, Sauceman Thomas, and Caleb with the nice Bulls jersey, talking about a little bit of Wade later. But guys, some of the big questions on the show I want to cover before we get into the big topics. So listen, here we go. Should the young gunslingers in Dallas holster the MVP and Rookie of the Year? Will the top 4 teams in college football live to see another week? And what college hockey team in the NCHC will end up on top at the end of the year? But before we get into any of those questions, I want to talk Minnesota Vikings. Now, guys, I think it's safe to say we are seeing an NFL team that may have the worst luck in the whole NFL. Last night, Cowboys played the Vikings.
Other than the Colts, obviously.
Okay, other than the Colts, Minnesota played the Cowboys last night. What do we see in that matchup, guys?
Well, I mean, it was a good defensive game, I would say, by the Vikings for sure. They were able to really limit Ezekiel Elliott's run game, and I mean, a guy who's been phenomenal all year. I'm not going to take anything away from him. He's skilled. He's talented. He's been eating all year, as he's going to put it. But they did a really good job. They would wrap him up behind the line of scrimmage, limit him to maybe 2-3 yard runs. He had a couple big ones, and one that got called back that was going to be like a 42-yard
that was a big
run.
one.
That was a big one. But when it came down to it, the offense for the Vikings was awful.
All right, I want to talk about what it came down to. I thought the first thing you guys were going to say to me right away was that call. I want to talk a little bit about that call. I'm a Minnesota fan. I don't want to be biased on the show, so I'm letting you guys take the floor on this one.
The call.
The call.
The call is the call. I mean,
Yeah.
the refs are humans. You're gonna get calls like that. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. But what it comes down to is the offense of the Minnesota Vikings could not capitalize last night. They could not score in the red zone. They can't do anything when they get there, let alone every once in a while they got there a handful of times, and that's it.
Well, and that's the thing. The call did not determine the outcome of that game. I mean, the Vikings maybe get another shot if you get that call, but that's not why they lost that game. They lost that game because they couldn't put Dallas away when they had the chances. I mean, Dallas, the first 3 quarters did not play like a team with the best record in the NFL. And the Vikings, you saw glimmers of that defense that we saw earlier in the year. Mike Zimmer wasn't there. I think they played for him. They played, they really played an inspired game last night, and they had multiple chances to put Dallas away. Couldn't do it. And, Dallas is a team they're a good team. They're going to hang around. And you knew it was just going to be a matter of time. And the Vikings had to put away when they had that chance. Couldn't get it done, and that's why they didn't win that game last night.
I gotta agree with Caleb. I think that game was a lot closer than a lot of people projected.
I mean, it was a bad game, to be honest.
I
was so bored watching it. And the biggest thing is the football gods wanted the Vikings to win that game the whole game. Every big play that the Cowboys had got called back, or there's a penalty or something, and then the football gods right at the last second said, you can just have a false start penalty.
Those football gods, wherever they are not for the Minnesota Vikings. I will give you that for sure.
Well, Bobbie, you mentioned that you didn't. I don't think you said a lot of people probably didn't expect the game to be that close. I mean, the line though, Dallas was only favored by like 3 or 3.5 points for the game. I mean, despite the records, these are 2 pretty evenly matched teams when both are playing on their game.
And this is in Minnesota, a place
exactly.
where they played tough all season long.
Skull.
Yeah, I mean, you got the cheer.
Skull.
Yeah, you knew, especially without
Sing
Zimmer,
it, AJ.
they were going to be ready to go. And they were. The Vikings played a really good game. People forget, they started off 5-0 with dominant defense, and they just suffocated teams. And you saw a little bit of that again last night. Couldn't pull it together for 4 quarters, but it was a close game. I think they played really well against one of the best teams in the NFL.
Well, right, but I think another story I want to talk about is this Cowboys team. Let's talk about the 2 rookies on this team. I mean, we got Dak Prescott and we got Elliott. Now, my question is to you guys: are these 2 considerable for the MVP? A rookie has never won it. Let's put that into stake first. A rookie has never won the MVP award.
Considerable, yes.
Yeah, first considerable.
Considerable, yes. Winning it, that's another story. I mean, it's going to be so hard for these 2 rookies to even get close to the MVP just because the talent around the league this year is remarkable.
Now, I know you were saying something about Matt Ryan has a good chance against Dak.
Yeah, for me, Matt Ryan right now is the second guy after Dak Prescott. You can't take away what Dak is doing this season for Dallas. He comes in for Tony Romo, wins 11 games. It's incredible.
I think Dak is in the conversation and has a real chance of winning it because of this reason. The MVP is the most valuable player. Okay. Now, yes, Dak leads the league in QBR, which that's a bonus. But last year, Tony Romo, and people are going to say the offensive line. Last year, same offensive line. the Cowboys 1-11 without Tony Romo. 1-11. They flipped that record, and a huge reason is because Dak Prescott, the most valuable player in that team. They are 11-1. Totally flipped it from last year. Same offensive line. They still had Des Bryant. Yeah, they added Ezekiel Elliott, a real good player, but this is a huge turnaround from 11-1, and I think, it's how you look at MVP, but I think for me, you have to look at the record. Most valuable player.
And how can you, with the record like that, how can you not have him in this conversation is my question.
Well, I think it's because there's better players for the MVP at least. Derek Carr, I think, is my front runner. I mean, when you look at him, 22-5 TD interception ratio, and he's led the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders, to their first winning season in 14 years.
That's remarkable.
He's been impressive.
Yeah,
Really
I mean, the guy's unbelievable. Passer rating of 100.5. That's phenomenal numbers compared to his last few seasons. I don't know what's really clicking in Oakland for him, but maybe it's just because they finally have kept the Raiders around Oakland for the next
I love
kind of tenure.
Jack Del Rio, the way he coaches
Yes.
that game. Aggressive coaching, he goes for 2. You see, he goes on 4th down. This is a guy who plays to win the game, and he really does. And that's what you see from Oakland. That's why I think I love how they play.
No, I got to bring this up because I may be a little biased, but I got to root for my boy Tom Brady. He is in the running for MVP, of course. He's got a ton of years. But my question is this. What does Tom Brady have that compares to Dak Prescott? How do those two match up? What's the difference?
He's got Super Bowl rings. He's got historic numbers, tied now with Peyton Manning for the most wins all time. He's a two-time Super Bowl MVP. I mean, he's got everything Dak Prescott doesn't have. The only thing he needs that would get him closer to more comparable to Dak is probably some type of mobile game. He's a pocket passer.
But he's doing this without Ezekiel Elliott and without Des Bryant.
And now soon without Gronk.
Without Gronk for the year too.
He missed them for the a little bit in the season.
Yeah.
Martellus Bennett though, he's gonna probably play a big role, but like you said, he's using guys like James White. I didn't know who James White was before the start of the season, and now he's not only a top guy in the NFL, but I mean fantasy wise too, he's a huge pickup.
I think it's funny how we're comparing Tom Brady to Dak Prescott. What doesn't Tom
Okay,
Brady have?
let's have a better
I'm
question.
really mad on the inside, but
let's have a better question. Back it up. Let's go Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. Okay, right now Tom Brady is leading the league with passing categories, obviously, and Tom Brady tied Peyton Manning last week for most wins in a career. Everyone loves Peyton Manning. A lot of people love Tom Brady. Who has more Super Bowl rings? Tom Brady. Who do you guys think is better, Tom Brady or Peyton Manning?
I think the only reason I am going to go Peyton Manning on this is because Tom Brady, as shown in the first 4 games this year, Tom Brady, he's just a spot holder, almost, because their team was successful without Tom Brady. Peyton Manning's teams, Peyton Manning is more of a game manager. He's not going to wow you with his throws. He's not going to wow you with
But you mean that in a good way, though?
Yes.
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 Just because some people
so.
throw that term around to kind of demean somebody's
No,
skill.
no.
He's a very good game manager.
Yes, Peyton Manning will be for a really long time the best prepared player that has ever gone through the NFL.
Well, your friend next to you, you're looking like you have something to say over there.
Are you kidding me? Tom Brady is the best quarterback of all time, hands down. Peyton Manning, all he has on Brady is the mental game. Every single other category, wins, Super Bowls, arm talent, arm accuracy, everything Tom Brady has on Peyton Manning. It's not even close.
Yeah, but as you can see, Jimmy Garoppolo can do the same thing with the same team. The Patriots don't need Tom Brady to be successful.
Okay, look,
Tom Brady needs the Patriots to be successful.
We're talking all time here.
Yes.
You're using 3 games in 2016.
Thomas.
Yeah, but that just shows how good of a coach Bill Belichick is. Bill Belichick doesn't need Tom Brady. He can take anybody. He took Brissett, for crying out loud.
You said arm talent and overall, just arm ability.
My question, should I ask the question again? I think we're confused.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I think we may be off topic. I don't know.
Okay, well, this is what it is. The question was, is Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, who is the better quarterback? Who is the best I should rephrase this way. Who is the best quarterback in all of history? Is it Peyton Manning or Tom Brady? If it was to compare those two.
Just those two.
Just those two.
Of all time.
Just those two.
Despite the lack of Super Bowl wins, I'm going to say Peyton Manning because Tom Brady came into the league 2 years after him in 2000.
I would agree with you, AJ.
Peyton Manning has over 120 more touchdown passes than Tom Brady.
Do you know who he is throwing to?
Yeah.
He has Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Who does Tom Brady have?
He had Randy Moss.
Okay,
had-
yeah, for a couple. He had
he had
Marvin Harrison
Julian-
his whole
Julian
career.
Edelman.
Reggie
He had
Wayne his
Wes
whole
Welker.
career.
He has Gronk.
Last year when he won the Super Bowl, how did Peyton Manning win that Super Bowl? Because of his play? He got benched last year. His defense won that Super Bowl. Did Brady ever have that happen? I could have played quarterback for Denver last year.
All
and
right,
won
guys,
that.
before we
I
get
could play
too hot too
quarterback for
early in the
the
show,
Patriots.
we're gonna we got to move on to some college football. I'm sorry, guys, I'm gonna cut you loose there. We'll end with a tie. We'll keep talking about that
End with
towards
a tie.
the show this week.
That's a tough all-time battle.
That is a tough one. I didn't know it was going to get so heated there, but we are going to move on to college football, another heated topic this week. Right now, it is the conference championship weekend. Okay, huge teams. Last week, Tuesday, there was 4 teams that they mentioned. AP rankings came out. They were coming up at Alabama, obviously, with number 1, number 2, Ohio State, number 3, Clemson, and number 4, Washington. I don't see that Michigan team in that top 4. I see them at 5, and I see Wisconsin at 6. My question, guys, is if these teams win out the top 4, is that the teams we're going to see? Is Michigan done? Are they done?
No.
I think Michigan is done. I'm going to tell you why they're done.
All right.
They're done because when they played Ohio State, that was a playoff game. And they lost. That was a playoff game.
I think
that was it. That was their playoff game, though, when they lost. And
No.
It definitely would have been different, though, if it would have ended in regular time. It took 2 overtimes. That was a straight, even game, and it came down to one
And
play.
I agree with that. But the thing, even from the Super Bowl, I mean, that was a playoff game, and I think you just have to look at it that playoff game. They lost. That's just the way it is.
All right, Caleb, I'm going to ask you this, too, then. Those calls at the end of the game with Jim Harbaugh getting fined, $10,000 there?
Yeah.
Pocket change.
Made
Yeah, for him now.
a huge deal. I think a coach like that wouldn't make that big a deal if it wasn't meant to be. So, do you think the committee is going to have those in their mind?
No, they're not going to have the calls in their mind because
That has no factor in it anymore. It's a win-or-loss scenario
it's a
there.
winner-loss.
They lost.
It's a playoff game.
All right.
It's a
Well,
winner-loss.
even if you look at that, if the committee's looking at a lot matters on what goes on this weekend with Washington and Colorado and Clemson and Virginia Tech and all the Big Ten with Wisconsin, Penn State. But if you look at it, is the committee going to look at what's going to be a better game in the playoffs, Ohio State and Michigan, or Ohio State and Washington?
I agree with that.
Can somebody give Washington some love, please?
No.
They've been dominant. They're 3rd in points per game. They have a top 20 offense, 15th in sacks, 10th in interceptions, top 20 defense, top 10 in points allowed per game, 3-1 against ranked teams. They've dominated.
Thomas, I gotta
Give
say
them
this
some
about
credit.
you. You
Why-
always got the underdogs back. That's why I love this kid. He's
Why is
always
nobody
got
ta-
no one ever has Washington. No one ever had Iowa. You had him with me or Wisconsin that time, and you are always having the underdog team.
Why is nobody talking about how bad the committee is this year? They're seeding everything like a 7-year-old would. They're just looking at wins and losses. Obviously, Alabama undefeated. They're number 1.
Shocker.
Then let's throw all of the number 1, the 1-loss teams. Through 4, and then 2 losses teams. Let's just toss them in underneath. We'll just let it work itself out. Anybody could be seeding them like this. They're not bringing in like the big circumstances. Like Michigan lost to Iowa. Iowa lost to North Dakota State University. They shouldn't even be in the top 5, let alone the top 10. That you lost to Ohio State. I agree with Caleb. That was a playoff game. You should not be in the playoff. I do like Wisconsin's chances though if they can have a dominant Big Ten.
And it has to be dominant.
So that's
Yeah,
my question,
it
guys.
has to be
How
dominant.
does the committee how does the committee value conference championships?
I'm just thankful
we'll
I'm not
find
in the
out.
committee.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the conference championships will be a big deal, but the big problem, I mean, the committee is going to be spinning either way, but the big problem here is Wisconsin and Penn State both lost to Michigan. And then there's that argument. I mean, there's just so many ways around
And then they say
everything
Ohio
going
State's
on.
at number 2, though. I'm just
They're a lock.
Where does that go?
Yeah, Ohio State won.
Yeah,
they're a
I mean,
lock.
they lost.
Ohio
to,
State is
they-
becoming the Alabama of the North.
Yeah.
I would say so. It's getting
Simply
to be
because
where,
of their first year.
Like yeah, exactly. I mean, just the name is enough to get them this far, even if they have mediocre wins.
So I want to know, you guys, so say you're in the committee. What 4 teams do you guys want to see? You know, we know already we got Alabama and Ohio State. I want to know who the 3 and 4 are.
I'm gonna go. It's Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson if they win by at least over a score,
Okay.
and then I think Wisconsin if they win by the same a score or more.
Wow, 2 Big Ten teams right there. All
I'm
right.
gonna go
All right.
back. I think I'm gonna have to go back to last week. What it was, Alabama, Ohio State. Obviously, I think Clemson. As much as I hate to say this, I think Clemson might be a lock. Even if they lose the conference finals, like as a good score.
So who's
Like I was close.
who's taking
Then they go
Washington's
Clemson.
spot?
And then I think Michigan takes Washington.
I think Michigan will take that spot too.
Okay.
And I don't even like Michigan.
And I do. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of Jim.
Yeah,
I'm a
we
big
know,
Jimmy
we
fan.
know.
Keep going.
Alabama, Ohio State, obviously 1 and 2.
3 and 4. What do we got?
For me, I think Clemson's fallen out. I
Okay.
think they're falling to 5. I've got Washington bumping up to 3. Wisconsin beats Penn State handily and gets 4.
All right. And Caleb.
I think this top 3 actually are locks. I think Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State all will make it.
Okay.
I think if Washington wins, they will stay. I think if they lose and Wisconsin wins, Wisconsin gets it, but only if Washington loses. I think if Washington pulls out a win against Colorado by a score or 2, I don't think they're going to move them. I just
Well,
don't.
they're 7.5-point favorites against Colorado.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it should be that. If Washington wins, I don't see them moving out of it.
Well, I think there's going to be good games to watch. I want to preview those games for audience that are watching. The biggest matchups this week are Clemson versus Virginia Tech, Colorado versus Washington, and Wisconsin versus Penn State, that Big Ten right there. But, guys, I want to move on to some NHL. We're going to get to some college hockey after that. First thing I want to talk about, though, is our Minnesota Wild team. Now, I want to bring this up. I know we talked about this earlier today while we were discussing, and you guys didn't agree with me, but I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it anyways. We're seeing the same team, the same results we saw last year from the same Wild team. The Wild have all their players back that are healthy with a whole new, different head coach. This head coach switch really impact the Wild's team.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why? I guess why? Because I'm not seeing it, so I would like to hear why.
Well, what are we, a quarter way into the season right now?
I think we're enough in that we could say
No,
something.
I think we are enough in, but you're seeing Eric Stahl is playing hockey.
Tearing it up.
He's playing very good. Devin Dubnyk, he's proving why the Wild signed to a 6-year deal. We originally, Craig Leopold wanted to sign him to a 4-year deal. His agent wanted 8. We met in the middle at 6. If he keeps playing like the way he is, I would say a second in the NHL to Carey Price only, that money's well spent. Mikko Koivu, after a contract year, is having a very good season.
Surprisingly.
Believe it or not. Like, surprisingly.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah, Zach Parese's back and he's healthy.
He's back.
In that stretch of, they went like 5-6 this past month and 5-6-1. They were missing key guys. Spurgeon was out with sick. Holla was sick for a little bit. Parise
Right.
was injured. They're bringing up Grayovac for tonight's game against Calgary. It'll be really weird to.
So you're telling me I should give this new head coach a little bit longer?
Yeah, I like
chance.
I like Bruce Boudreau.
Don't get me wrong, I like him too. I'm not jumping on him there.
It'll be really interesting come January because
All right.
in the past with Mike Yeo, January's been the worst month in all of hockey for Minnesota
Well,
Wild
and
fans.
then they end up having to win their last 20, their last 25 to even make the playoffs, and then that's the problem.
If in last years, if they play even 500 hockey in January, they're at least a 3 seed.
But
in
what
the
I
Central.
what I like the Wild are doing too. What I notice is last year you see him getting 15 shots on net, and they're putting offense up. They're scoring more goals because of guys like Eric Stahl, but they're getting more opportunities as well. And I think bounces will go the other way. They lost to the night 5-4 with Kemper and net. Dubnyk wasn't even playing.
It's a rare sight when they have less than 28 shots
I know,
in a game.
yeah,
It's
which
very,
is
I love
different
it.
than last year.
I love it.
Last year you saw them we're gonna outshot 32-14.
Yeah.
But we're tied 1-1. Wow, that must have been kind of lucky. But the offensive production has been better there. But I think I agree. The biggest thing in January, how will they be?
So we'll have to wait and see about that topic. I will bring that question up in a couple weeks. Moving on, though, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews. All right. Is this matchup, guys, the next Ovechkin and Crosby matchup?
Definitely. I think it's going to be a better matchup than
For a
Ovechkin
guy who's a
and
huge
Crosby.
Connor McDavid fan, is he?
Is
it?
I'm an okay Connor McDavid fan. I wouldn't say huge.
Oh, really?
I think
This morning I thought you were the biggest fan of him. No?
Well, just because I think he's going to be way better
Yeah.
than Sidney Crosby is.
You said, Bobbie, if you know anything about hockey, that he is the god of hockey. You looked me right in the
he's
eyes and
super
said
good.
that.
Yeah, he's super good.
He is.
Yeah, he's got unbelievable skill.
All right.
I think it's really hard to just limit it to those two guys,
Okay.
Matthews and McDavid.
All right.
Because you have a guy like Jack Eichel, who now back from injury, he's getting his name back out there. Had
Tearing it up.
Two goals last.
Two goals
Yeah.
and 3
Yeah.
assists in 2 games.
2 games, 3 goals, and assists. Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing already. Then you got even Dylan Larkin with the Red Wings. He's a young guy. He's not going to be probably the face of the NHL anytime soon, but he's definitely going to be a bigger name. Max Domi down in Arizona, he's phenomenal.
Look at
Patrick,
Lane, yeah.
Laine up in
Laine.
Winnipeg, he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
The guy just has a knack for the back of the net. there's so much talent in the NHL right now. It's hard to just limit it
I know.
to those two
There's so
people.
much-
And I know that's the question that you wanted to ask.
I
but
know.
It's
There's so
hard.
many.
It's hard to limit
There's
it.
so much young talent.
Exactly.
I mean,
It's-
look at the North America team that there was in the World Cup. I mean, that team, the talent on that team was remarkable.
right now to be a
Unbelievable.
hockey fan or just an NHL fan in general is one of the best times in the past 30 years.
Yeah.
Just because you have so much of that young talent, you know it's going to be there for a long
I
time.
mean, what a time to be alive.
Exactly.
What a time.
Shout out Drake and Future.
What a time. Now I want to talk a little bit about some college hockey. You look at the AP standings. I'm going to read you guys the top 10. We got Minnesota Duluth at 1. 2 is Denver, 3 Boston College, 4 Massachusetts, 5 Quinnipiac, 6 Boston University, 7 Penn State, 8 Harvard, 9 North Dakota, and 10 Ohio State. Now, guys, you look at that top 10 right there, and you're seeing primary 2 conferences, Hockey East and the NCHC. What do we say about these 2 conferences? I mean,
Powerhouses.
hands down.
They will be for a long time.
You see it in yeah, exactly. And that, I mean, it's growing very similar to what you see in college football. SEC a long time was a huge powerhouse. Now the Big Ten is kind of emerging as that. Hockey East and NCHC are, I mean, those are the 2 big conferences. They have huge teams. And NCHC, I mean, that Minnesota Duluth, number 1. Denver, for surprisingly to me
Yeah,
at least,
shocked me.
number 2. And then obviously we have our Huskies in the top 20. But then North Dakota won the national championship last year. When you're looking at Hockey East, Boston College, Mass Lowell, Boston University. Those are all huge teams. I love watching the Bean Pot every year. I mean,
Yes.
that's one of the best college hockey tournaments, in my opinion. I love the North Star Cup, but the Bean Pot is always a classic.
Another big thing here is you look, and North Dakota's at 9. North Dakota's tearing it up right now. Ever since they had that big losing streak, I mean, I'm going to
Since they
say
swept
it.
the Huskies.
Ever since
no.
they swept us at
That's what I'm
home.
saying. They had the big losing streak. They swept the Huskies at home, and when I was there watching their game against the Huskies, they tore it up.
They're
They
a
looked,
great team.
They looked remarkable. They looked big. They looked fast.
Their goaltending.
And I want to
yes.
I want to talk about
Cam Johnson looked crazy
UND
good.
with that coach Brad Barry. Last year when they won the national championship, he was the first coach ever at Division I hockey to ever win a division or a national championship as a first-year head coach. And I was talking to him earlier before that game, and he said, he goes, I got faith in my team. I know that we are going to come out of this. I don't know when, but I know we are going to come out of this. And when we do, the teams better be ready. And just to see the confidence from a coach that, just won the national championship and had a season start like that. I mean, to still have that confidence, it really shows. And I think this team's going to go on a run, and I wouldn't be surprised if it.
I mean, that's
if
North
it-
Dakota hockey.
Yeah.
That happens like
They
every
really
year.
found the groove.
Yeah.
for
Well,
sure.
of course it's North Dakota hockey, but you look at how they started, and it's just like, wow. I mean, I think that everyone was shocked. And what he said as well, he said, everywhere we go, we have a bullet on our back. And I think that's obviously something to put into play there. But what are we seeing with this Minnesota Duluth team? I mean, talking about the NCHC, we have 5 teams ranked top 20.
Crazy good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think what
Crazy
I like
good.
with Duluth, they have so many guys that they know how to play. They know how to play together. I mean, I don't think they have a ton of guys who stick out like, well, I mean, but they all work hard. They know where to be. They're such a solid team to play against. I mean, you can throw any of those lines out there, and they're going to be competitive.
Especially, they got Hunter Miska in net. Miska's been holding it down for them between the pipes. My goodness. He's
And he's a freshman, right?
yes.
Yes, that's what I thought.
I mean, the kid's a brick wall.
He is.
He's going to be kind of like the staple of that program for the next 4 years.
And when players in the team, when they know their role, I mean, that can make your team it's so dangerous. And that's what they do. They know their role. They know what to do. And that's, I think, why they've been doing so well.
And I think that's something that maybe the Huskies are struggling with. They lost a ton of people last year. They kind of have a new 18 out of 26 freshmen and sophomores on the team. They play this weekend. St. Cloud State plays Western Michigan on the road this weekend. What do we see in that matchup, you guys?
It's gonna be a good one.
yeah.
It's a conference matchup. All the conference matchups are really good, but they got to come and they got to show their top 20 this weekend. It has to happen.
I'll give you 3 names the Huskies got to shut down.
All right.
Matheson Iacopelli, Taylor Fleming, and Griffin Molino. Leading point scorers for the team. They've been there last year. They really were a thorn in the side of the Huskies all last season in the 6 matchups. This year, I mean, they're tearing it up again. But it's going to be Trevor Gorsuch is probably going to be the biggest name out of that entire series just because he's 4-3 on the year for them in net. Last year, he had a lot of trouble against the Huskies because he faced a lot of shots. Obviously, last year, the Huskies very offensively powered, a
Right.
huge juggernaut. This year, it's lacking a little bit, but I think if they just find a little bit of a groove and they head into this series with some confidence, put a lot of shots on, just like we were talking about the Wild doing, kind of ramping up that offense. Every shot is a good shot. It creates an opportunity down low for a rebound. That's what the Huskies got to do this weekend.
And I think the biggest thing you said there is confidence. I mean,
Yes.
that's the biggest thing for the Huskies. This is a team, I think, a young team with they go through so many ups and downs. I mean, you saw in one of the last series where, against Duluth, they scored a goal and gave one, like a minute after. So I think confidence is big for the Huskies.
They really got to get that offense going. Mm-hmm. That's what hurt them the most against North Dakota at home is they didn't score. Yeah. They gave the fans no reason to yell Civ. They gave the fans no reason to stand up and cheer or do anything. You got to score. You need to get your offense going.
Yeah.
We have so many youngsters on offense and upcoming stars. Well, they got to be stars now. I mean, they're in college. They need to do something now. We need to score and get on the board early and often in order to beat all these good conference teams.
And I would say the funny thing about the Huskies is once one of them scores, the rest of them follow. I mean, they've had second and third periods that they'll get one to finally go, and then there's 3 or 4 more that follow. So it seems like they just have that struggle to get that one to get them going. And I think they're a team that's huge on confidence. Obviously, with younger guys, that kind of plays into that. But I want to take away a little bit from hockey. I want to move to the Minnesota Timberwolves a little bit. I want to start off by talking about native Tyus Jones, okay, a guy from Burnsville, not too far from St. Cloud here. This team right now, Timberwolves are struggling. Okay, they haven't won that many games. They have a new head coach. One thing I want to talk about with Tyus Jones is he doesn't come in until the fourth quarter. Okay, he comes in and he's lighting up the threes, but he doesn't play defense. Why is the coach not playing him earlier? Because he doesn't play defense?
He doesn't have the playmaking ability of Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, he was. I don't want to say exploited in college, but when he went up against bigger, stronger point guards like NBA level physicality point guards, he struggled. And if you know Thibodeau, you know he loves his defense, and he's kind of a sieve defensively for that point guard. He just lets people blow by him because he doesn't have that physical strength to hold him as he's moving laterally. And when they bring him in to shoot the 3 ball to help them build back off of their terrible third quarters.
Right. I think they're trying to get guys also, like, they have guys Rubio, Dunn, and Jones. They want to get these guys involved, especially Dunn has a lot of high praise coming this year. They want to get him involved.
Right.
And especially in the NBA, it's so hard to be a successful player in the NBA if you're not physically gifted. And he's not that physically gifted. He's not a very tall guy. You look at other point guards around the league that have made it that are pretty short. I mean, you're looking at CP3, Chris Paul, Steph. They're short, but they're playmakers. They make things happen. I mean, you look at other point guards. D'Angelo Russell for the Lakers is a point guard. He's 6'6".
Right. And I guess the reason I kind of brought that up is just because in his press conference, the coach was saying how Tyus Jones is a better shooter, he thinks, than Rubio. And that's
not difficult. That's not hard.
I think I might be a better shooter than him.
And for a team that's losing, why not mix it up a little bit and put him in earlier? That's just what I'm asking. For a guy who's going to shoot the 3 in the fourth quarter, might as well put him in the second.
Yeah, but if
change something up.
Rubio's a playmaker.
Yeah.
He makes things happen. He meshes,
things haven't been
with
happening
those
enough.
young guys.
He would be a star.
Things aren't
if he
happening in
could
the
shoot.
third quarter. They're awful in the third quarter, and that's why they're losing these games late.
Right.
They're what is it, points per 100 plays in the first 2 quarters are 13.7 and 13.5 is what they go up. That's why they head into that third quarter with such a big lead. In the last 20 years, they have the worst points per 100 plays at negative 30 in the third quarter.
That's so bad.
That's why, it's
This
awful.
is a young team with a new coach that got a lot of young players, and they're gonna have to figure it out. It's gonna take time.
They have to play every quarter.
All right,
Yeah,
guys, and
but they need to figure
before we gotta go, and very very soon, I want to talk about Tiger Woods. I know AJ wants to talk about it, guys. Is this guy gonna bring the game of golf back?
I mean, he's doing it right now.
I hope so. I know you have the stats right now. Where is he at right now?
Well, right now he's shooting 7 under round 2, so he's 6 under overall. 6 strokes off of JB Holmes, and he's having a pretty good day. He's 4 under on the day. But I'm ready to make Sundays great again. I want to see the red. I want to see the red shirt. I want to see the black vest. I want to see the fist pump. I want to see
the run across the green.
Yes, I want to. Yes, I'm just so ready for it. It's been way too long.
It has been.
I miss those dramatic fist pumps on the 18th green. I miss them.
I'm missing the excitement in golf.
I know.
Everybody now is just like,
who's that guy? What's his name? I know.
Jordan, you're doing great.
Jordan Spieth, yeah.
But
I know he's just not the Tiger Woods.
They're just too calm.
They are.
We need some more excitement in our golf game, and I think he can bring it back, but he's got to be healthy. He's got to be healthy.
Now, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me again on the KVSC this morning to talk with Bobbie and the boys. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, right here on KVSC 88.1 FM.